The MotoGP calendar has been reignited for the 2026 season, and a wave of paddock news has delivered two important perspectives that highlight how the dynamics of the sport are no longer solely about speed on the circuit, but also about strategy, rider status, and the commercial realities behind the scenes. On one side, we have a sharp statement from rising star Pedro Acosta, who insists that Marc Marquez, even when injured, remains the rider everyone must beat. On the other, we see frustration from Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola over the Italian manufacturer's failure to secure a title sponsor, an issue that reflects the financial challenges faced amid increasingly intense competition. Though these two stories appear different on the surface, they are in fact two sides of the same coin. What it truly means to be competitive in MotoGP today. Pedro Acosta, the young KTM rider already regarded as a star of the future, has not concealed his admiration nor his caution when speaking about Marc Marquez. At KTM's team launch for the 2026 season, Acosta said what many riders may think, but few dare to express openly: that Marc Marquez, despite still recovering from a shoulder injury, will remain the most dangerous rider on the grid. Acosta emphasized that Marquez's achievements during the 2025 season, 11 Grand Prix victories, 14 sprint wins, and a 7th world title were no coincidence, but clear proof of genuine dominance at the highest level of competition. Acosta's statement was not merely praise. Behind his words lay an implicit acknowledgement that Marquez has set a performance benchmark that is almost impossible to match. Marquez's dominance last season came after a career-threatening knee injury in 2020, followed by a remarkable return at the top of the sport with Ducati. The fact that he was able to maintain momentum and rack up so many victories after a long absence from the summit of MotoGP is testament to his character and racing quality. Yet it is precisely at this point that Acosta issued a strategic warning to the rest of the grid. Marquez is not just a winner, he is the reference point every rival must overcome. What makes Acosta's comments even more significant is the context of Marquez's injury itself. The 2025 season ended early for Marquez due to a complicated shoulder fracture following a crash in Indonesia, just weeks after he had been crowned world champion. That injury has fueled widespread speculation over how prepared Marquez will be for 2026, especially as he is set to return to the track at the Sepang test with major question marks surrounding his physical condition. Uncertainty over Marquez's fitness at the start of the season offers opportunities to rivals such as Acosta, Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez, and Francesco Bagnaia to close the gap or even seize control of the championship narrative. Acosta himself, despite only having a few seasons in the premier class, has shown that he is not merely a young talent to watch, but a genuine threat, capable of inserting himself into the title fight in the near future. His statement was not simply praise for Marquez, but also a political and psychological move. By elevating Marquez as the ultimate benchmark, Acosta simultaneously places himself within the narrative of a rider ready to challenge the reigning champion's dominance. Yet in the world of MotoGP, the competitive level is not defined solely by rider talent or physical condition. Behind the glamour of the grid lies a financial reality that can be even more decisive in determining whether a team can survive and grow. This is where Aprilia Racing's story offers a different lesson, one that shows how sponsorship issues can shape a team's direction, even when on-track performance is relatively competitive. Massimo Rivola, CEO of Aprilia, has openly admitted his disappointment that the team failed to secure a title sponsor for the 2026 season. This is a reality rarely discussed publicly in MotoGP, particularly because a title sponsor is not just branding on a bike's fairing, but a major pillar of a team's budgetary stability. Without a main title sponsor, Aprilia must rely heavily on financial backing from its parent company, the Piaggio Group, a situation far from ideal compared to having a major sponsor covering a significant portion of operational costs. Rivola stressed that while Aprilia has enjoyed a competitive MotoGP campaign, especially with Marco Bezzecchi delivering outstanding performances, their inability to attract a title sponsor highlights how the commercial and marketing side of racing does not always move in harmony with results on the circuit. Teams such as Yamaha and Honda, which have benefited from long-term major sponsors, demonstrate how financial stability can enhance long-term competitiveness. A historic example is Repsol's long-standing role as Honda's title sponsor since 1995, providing substantial backing that contributed to multiple world championships through riders such as Marc Marquez himself. Aprilia's failure to secure a major title sponsor can be understood within several contexts. First, the global sponsorship market, particularly in motorsport, has become increasingly competitive. Many large corporations now carefully evaluate whether investment in MotoGP delivers sufficient marketing value, especially when compared to other major sports such as Formula One or football. Second, although Aprilia has shown clear potential on track, it does not yet possess the same global profile as Ducati or Honda, which can guarantee massive worldwide visibility and a stronger return on investment for major sponsors. More broadly, the inability to secure a title sponsor also reflects how MotoGP as a whole must work harder to improve its commercial appeal. Rivola implicitly underlined that all stakeholders, not just the teams, need to do more to maximize the sport's commercial potential. This raises a wider question. Has MotoGP truly reached its full marketing potential as one of the world's premier motorsport series? Or is there still a gap where spectacular racing has yet to be fully converted into the dollars and cents required to sustain every team? This reality becomes even sharper when viewed alongside the rapidly shifting rider market, with contracts often expiring at the end of each season, and stars like Pedro Acosta being linked with potential moves to major teams such as Ducati in 2027. Teams face additional financial pressure to offer competitive packages both on track and at the sponsorship table in order to attract and retain top talent. The situation highlights an unavoidable duality. On one side, MotoGP is the pinnacle of technical and athletic motorcycle competition. On the other, it is a global commercial enterprise that requires strong marketing support for its teams to thrive financially. When a team like Aprilia must rely on internal backing from the Piaggio Group, due to a lack of a title sponsor, it underlines that success on track does not always translate into success off it. This is where the distinction between being a world champion and being a truly stable, well-established team becomes starkly apparent. By combining these two narratives, Acosta's admiration and caution toward Marquez, who remains the dominant figure despite injury, and Rivola's frustration over Aprilia's financial challenges, we see how MotoGP 2026 may become a season full of paradoxes. Young riders are bold enough to challenge legends, yet speed alone will not determine the final outcome. Financial stability, commercial strength, and marketing strategy will all play crucial roles in deciding who can truly endure and thrive in an increasingly complex competitive landscape. We can already imagine Marc Marquez returning to the Sepang circuit carrying the status of the man everyone must beat, while challengers like Acosta attempt to adapt to a new competitive rhythm. At the same time, Aprilia's story serves as a reminder that even if a team possesses the technical potential to compete, factors beyond the circuit, particularly sponsorship and marketing, can play a decisive role in its long-term viability and competitiveness. Ultimately, MotoGP 2026 will not simply be a story about who is fastest on the track. It will be a story about the modern racing ecosystem, where rider talent, team strategy, and commercial realities interact to determine who stands on the podium, and who discovers that true victory often takes shape long before the first tire touches the tarmac. It is a drama every bit as intense as the racing itself. A long lap filled with unpredictable corners, where every decision carries consequences that may only become clear when the checkered flag finally falls.